Right now, I mean, if you really look at what the Japanese government, pretty stacked. Imagine losing $35 billion to theft in a single year.
Just a massive, mind-boggling amount of money.
Right. And so the government turns around and hands you $71 million to fix it, which sounds great, right?
On paper, yeah. It sounds like a lifeline.
Exactly. But there's a massive, massive catch on how you actually have to use that money. And it's a catch that has fans of the medium threatening to just completely boycott the exact platforms the government is desperately trying to save.
Yeah, because we're looking at a masterclass in what happens when boardroom spreadsheets just violently collide with passionate fandoms.
Right.
It's this massive case study in the tension between, corporate efficiency and the actual preservation of art.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are officially unpacking a really sweeping initiative by Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry.
Also known as MITI.
Right, MITI. We've got a whole stack of reports here detailing this multi-million-dollar strategy they have to just crush anime and manga piracy once and for all.
And their chosen weapon for this, which is where things get really controversial, is generative artificial intelligence.
Yeah, they're pushing the entire industry to abandon traditional, human-led localization. And they want them to use AI to translate their works for international audience. So our mission for today's deep dive is to figure out why this strategy looks so flawless if you're like an economist looking at a bar chart.
Right.
And understand why the actual people, the fans consuming this media, are just absolutely terrified of what this means.
Because when you zoom out, this really isn't just about comic books and animated shows.
Not at all.
We're examining one of Japan's most vital cultural exports, the massive economic engine. So we're going to look at the mechanical, logistical reality of how piracy actually operates today.
Which is wild, but...
Oh, it's incredibly sophisticated. And we'll get into the technical hurdles of translating the Japanese language and this inherent friction between, algorithmic speed and human creativity.
Okay, let's unpack. Let's start with the money, because we have to look at exactly what the Japanese government is proposing before we can really understand the backlash.
Right, the $71 million question.
Exactly. So Media is preparing to inject 11.5 billion yen in subs into the entertainment sector. That converts to roughly 71 million US dollars.
Yeah, but this money isn't just being sprinkled evenly across independent creators or small struggling animation studios.
Right, it's highly targeted. It's going to 15 major media companies.
Specifically to cover half of their costs for overseas expansion.
Right, and overseas expansion, I mean, that's a pretty broad umbrella on a balance sheet, isn't it?
It is. It covers a lot of ground. It's international advertising campaign, booking massive floor space at global conventions.
Like Anime Expo or San Diego Comic-Con? Right.
Exactly. And crucially for our focus today, it covers localization, translating the actual content. And the companies slated to receive this windfall are, they're the undisputed heavy hitters.
Yeah, these are the gatekeepers.
Absolutely. In the anime space, we're talking about titans like Crunchyroll and Bandai Namco. In manga publishing, it's basically the royalty of the medium, right? Shueisha, Kodansha, Square Enix, NTT, Solmer.
So if you consume anime or manga, you interact with these companies constantly.
Every single day.
But the $71 million has that string attached. The government is heavily incentivizing, essentially mandating, honestly, that these companies use generative AI for their translations if they want the subsidy.
Yep. That's the condition.
And that is the part I find completely baffling. I mean, think about it like this. This feels like a government giving an automotive company a massive grant to expand globally, right?
Okay, yeah.
But they're mandating that the cars they build with that money absolutely must be self-driving.
Regardless of whether the customers actually want self-driving cars.
Exactly. It completely ignores whether the consumers trust them. The government is basically dictating the method of production, not just the economic outcome.
Well, governments tend to dictate methods when they believe an industry is just fundamentally misunderstanding its own logistical bottleneck.
Interesting. Tell me more about that.
Historically, state subsidies for cultural exports think about the French subsidizing their film industry, or South Korea heavily backing K-pop.
Oh, right. Soft power.
Exactly. It's about soft power. You want the rest of the world consuming your culture.
Yeah.
But Meiti's stepping in to dictate the granular mechanics of how a single manga page is translated from Japanese to English. That's a massive escalation.
Yeah, that feels like micromanagement on a national scale.
It is. They're looking at localization not as this nuanced artistic endeavor, but as a mechanized industrial process. They're treating the English language or Spanish or French as these simple logistical hurdles that can just be cleared with a quick software update.
Which is wild to me. I mean, think about this. If you're listening to this right now, think about your absolute favorite international movie or book.
Yeah. Great example.
Imagine if the government of its origin country mandated that a machine had to translate it just to get it to your screen fast. Like, how would that change your experience of the story?
You would completely hollow it out.
Right. But wait, why does Guy care so much about the how? I mean, if the goal is just soft power and selling more books, shouldn't they just hand Shueisha a check and say, go hire 1,000 more human translators and get it done? Why force the AI issue?
Well, because hiring 1,000 human translators just doesn't scale infinitely.
How so?
Human beings need sleep. They demand higher wages, they unionize, and they take time to actually debate the cultural nuance-specific joke.
Right. They're not machines.
Exactly. And from the perspective of a macroeconomic planner, human beings are friction. The government is looking at the staggering financial losses happening in this sector, and they're concluding that the current human-centric model is just too slow to compete in a digital economy.
Which brings us to the terrifying math of the piracy problem.
It really is terrifying.
These numbers are difficult to even wrap your head around. Okay, so pirate websites, illegal aggregators, and unauthorized scanlation hubs, which we'll get into, they are projected to cost domestic Japanese companies 5.7 trillion yen in the year 2025 alone.
Yeah, that is roughly $35 billion US.
Evaporating in a single year.
To put $35 billion into perspective, that is more than the entire gross domestic product of some small nation.
It's a catastrophic bleeding of capital.
It's a severed artery in the economy, honestly.
Yeah.
And the trajectory of that bleeding is what actually has media in a panic right now.
Because it's not holding steady, right?
No, not at all. 3 years prior to this projection, the estimated loss was 2 trillion yen.
So what does this all mean? It jumped from roughly $12 billion, $35 billion in just 30 months. How on earth does a black market triple in size that fast?
Well, you have to look at how modern piracy actually operates. We aren't talking about, kids burning bootleg DVDs in their basements anymore.
Right. It's not the early 2000s.
Modern manga and anime piracy is a highly sophisticated, decentralized, globally distributed machine. Let's look at the mechanics of manga piracy, specifically something called scanlation.
Right. So scanlation, that's just fans scanning and translating the books themselves, yeah.
I mean, yes, but it is vastly more organized than the word fan implies. Let's say a weekly manga magazine goes on sale in Tokyo.
Okay.
Before it even officially hits the shelves, you have raw providers. These are people with actual access to the physical distribution chain in Japan.
Oh, wow. So it's like an inside job.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
They steal a copy early, they scan the pages in super high resolution, and they upload the raw Japanese image file to a secure server somewhere. And within minutes, this decentralized team, scattered all across the globe, gets to work. First, you have cleaners. They use software to digitally erase the Japanese text from the speech bubbles.
Right, creating a blank slate.
Exactly. And they even manually redraw any background art that was covered up by the original text.
Which is an art form in itself.
It really is.
Yeah.
Then, simultaneously, you have translators converting the Japanese script to English. You have proofreaders checking the flow of the dialogue.
All happening in real time.
Yes. And finally, you have typesetters who meticulously place the English text back into those blank bubbles.
Right, choosing the right fonts and sizing to match the original emotion of the scene.
Exactly.
And they're just doing all of this for free. Or wait, are they monetizing it?
Well, the scanlators themselves often do it for community clout or maybe minimal Patreon donations.
Okay.
But the aggregator websites, the massive hubs that host these illegal translations, they monetize the absolute hell out of it.
Of course they do.
They plaster these sites with incredibly aggressive, often straight-up malicious advertising. They are generating millions of dollars in ad revenue completely off the backs of stolen, fan-translated content.
So the people actually doing the translation work aren't getting rich, but the tech guys hosting the stolen files are making.
Precisely. And the defining characteristic of this entire black market supply chain is speed.
Speed.
Yes. A chapter can leak in Japan on a Thursday morning, and a fully translated, completely typeset English version is available on an aggregator site by Thursday night.
Wow. So the government looks at that illegal pipeline, they see how incredibly fast, and they conclude that speed is the only reason the pirates are winning.
What's fascinating here is that incredible logical leap.
Right. They think pirate sites thrive because they offer translated content before the official versions even exist. Ergo, if we can get the official versions out faster, we win.
That is the core thesis driving the $71 million. ADI fundamentally believes that if an official legal translation is available at the exact same moment the Japanese version drops, or at least faster than the pirate groups can manage, the consumer will naturally choose the legal route.
Because why wouldn't you?
Right. The assumption is the consumer won't want to deal with the shady pirate websites and the malicious pop-up ads if the official app has the content ready to go immediately.
undercutting the pirates' main advantage just by beating them to the punch.
Yes, and they're attempting to do this while executing an incredibly aggressive growth strategy.
Oh, right, the endgame numbers, they are wild.
Yeah, the ultimate goal here is to triple overseas content sales to 20 trillion yen by the year 2033.
Okay, 2033, that's not far away.
No, it's less than a decade. And to achieve that massive revenue, they project they need to grow the subscriber base for these official platforms from roughly 100 million people today to 300 million people.
Wait, reaching 300 million subscribers is that's wild. I mean, think about Netflix.
Right, exactly.
Netflix has been grinding globally for, nearly 2 decades, and they hover around 260 million subscribers. Japan basically wants to build an anime and manga infrastructure that is larger than the biggest streaming platform on the planet.
In less than 10 years.
And they want to do it in less than a decade. It's absurd.
Which is exactly why they are demanding artificial intelligence, because you cannot scale from 100 million to 300 million subscribers relying on artisanal, slow-moving human translation pipelines.
You just can't physically hire enough people?
No. You need mass, frictionless, instantaneous global distribution. The moment a show airs in Tokyo, it needs to be available in English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German simultaneously.
And generative AI, well, in theory anyway, provides that infinite scale.
Right. It never sleeps. It can process a 200-page manga volume in seconds, so AI seems like this perfect magic wand to the corporate planners.
Okay, I see the logic from the boardroom perspective. Like, on a spreadsheet, it makes total sense. But looking at the actual mechanics of how this industry currently operates, Midiai's thesis that speed beats piracy feels like it's ignoring a massive reality check.
A gigantic one.
Because for half of this industry, the anime side, they are trying to solve a problem that was already solved years ago.
The disconnect here between Midi's economic planners and the day-to-day reality of anime distribution is just staggering.
It's like they don't even watch the product they're subsidizing.
Critics of this mandate are pointing out that for anime, timeliness is almost entirely a non-issue in the modern era. The government is essentially fighting a war that ended 5 years ago.
Yeah, because of simulcasting.
Exactly. Simulcasting is the industry standard.
Platforms like Crunchyroll and now even, huge mainstream players like Netflix and Prime Video, they've entirely restructured their licensing and delivery pipe. If an episode airs in Tokyo at 10:00 p.m., a fully subtitled, high-quality, human-translated version is available on streaming platforms legally by 11:30.
Within hours.
The wait time is negligible. It's like trying to invent a faster microwave when your food is already cooking in 30 seconds.
That's a great way to put it.
If I can already watch an episode legally just hours after it airs in Tokyo, throwing AI at this quote-unquote speed problem is solving something that the industry has already.
And the infrastructure required to pull off simulcasting is already immense. Studios are delivering raw video files and scripts to overseas localizers weeks before the episode officially airs in Japan.
Oh, so they're working way in advance.
Exactly. The translators, the timers, the subtitle engineers, they're doing all the work ahead of time so that when the broadcast embargo finally lifts in Tokyo, the localized episode drops instantly worldwide.
So this whole speed bottleneck for flagship anime it's a myth.
It's a total myth. It has been completely engineered out of the system.
So if I can already watch, say, Jujutsu Kaisen legally, translated by a human being who actually understands the cultural context just an hour after it airs in Japan, what exactly is injecting generative AI into that specific pipeline going to achieve?
Nothing for the consumer.
Right.
When you apply a disruptive technology like generative AI to a problem that doesn't actually exist, you don't get a solution. You just introduce a whole new set of problems.
So why do it? I mean, it achieves nothing for the consumer, but
it achieves cost reduction for the corporation. That is the quiet part being said out loud right now.
Oh, there it is. The bottom line.
If the speed problem is already solved, then applying AI to anime localization isn't about beating the pirates to the punch at all. It is entirely about laying off human translators and cutting operational overhead to widen profit margins.
But wouldn't those major corporations argue that cutting overhead allows them to invest more in the actual animation studios? Because, the animators themselves are famously overworked and underpaid.
Sure.
If Crunchyroll or Bandai Namco saves millions on localization by using AI, maybe that money trickles down to the creators?
I mean, that is a corporate defense, yes. But trickle-down economics in the entertainment industry rarely works out that way in practice.
Shock.
Right. History shows that savings at the distribution level tend to stay at the distribution level, rewarding shareholders rather than trickling back to the animation desks in Tokyo.
Yeah, that tracks.
Furthermore, you're risking the entire golden goose. If you degrade the quality of the English product to save a few dollars on translation, you lose the subscriber entirely.
Which brings us to the actual consumer experience. And here is where it gets really interesting.
The fandom is not happy.
The fandom is not just mildly skeptical about this AI mandate, they are actively revolted because generative AI localization is a highly, highly sensitive topic.
Because the quality has been universally abysmal.
Exactly. Translating Japanese to English is an art. It's not a simple one-to-one word swap. It's like a complex game of telephone, right?
That's a really good analogy. It is one of the most complex linguistic bridges to cross, primarily because Japanese is a highly contextual language.
Give me an example of how that works.
Well, subjects and pronouns are frequently entirely omitted from sentences if the context is understood by the speakers.
Okay, so how does that break in AI?
Imagine a scene where two characters are looking at a destroyed build. Character A says in Japanese, essentially just the verb, destroyed.
Just the single word.
Right.
Ugh.
A human translator looks at the scene, understands the visual relationship between the characters and the building, and translates it as, they really did a number on this place, huh?
Because they can see the context.
Exactly. But an AI, looking only at the text script without any visual context, might translate it as, I destroyed it, or you destroyed it.
Oh, wow.
Because the AI is forced to guess the missing pronoun based on statistical probability, not actual situational awareness.
That's a fundamental breakdown. The AI isn't just making it sound clunky, it's actively rewriting the plot because it doesn't have eyes.
Exactly. Or consider honorifics,
Yeah.
which are just an absolute nightmare for predictive text models.
Honorifics like san or kun?
Yes. Japanese relies heavily on suffixes like sana, kun, sama, senpai. These aren't just polite add-ons, you know. They define the entire social hierarchy and the emotional distance between two characters.
Right.
If a junior character suddenly stops using senpai when talking to a senior character, a human translator knows that is a massive dramatic shift in their relation.
It signifies disrespect or maybe sudden...
Yes, it's a character arc happening entirely through a suffix.
But an AI.
An AI, which is designed to produce smooth, grammatically correct English, will often just scrub the honorifics entirely because they don't have a direct English equivalent. It flattens the relationship.
That's terrible.
It's like converting a beautifully nuanced three-dimensional sculpture into a flat two-dimensional pencil sketch. I mean, the basic shape is there, but all the depth, the texture, the lighting, it's just gone.
If an AI doesn't understand the cultural weight of a specific Japanese honorific or pun, the soul of the story just dies in translation.
It really does.
And we aren't just speaking hypothetically here either. The industry has already tried to force AI into the pipeline, and it has failed spectacularly in front of millions of viewers.
Amazon Prime Video is the prime example of this.
Yeah.
They utilized an AI-assisted localization pipeline for the dub of the anime Banana Fish.
Yeah, and Banana Fish is an incredibly dense, emotionally agonizing thriller. It deals with trauma, gang violence, deeply complex psychological relationships.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And the AI dub was so universally reviled that Amazon actually had to pull it down from Prime Video.
Wait, they fully pulled it?
Yes, the fans were absolutely furious. The AI just could not parse the emotional hoot of the dialogue. It delivered lines about profound, life-altering trauma with the cadence of an automated customer service menu.
Oh my God.
It completely shattered the immersion.
You also saw it with Crunchyroll. They faced immense subscriber backlash when viewers realized they were experimenting with AI for English closed caps.
Right, the captions were hallucinating words, completely missing contextual jokes, and just generally providing a severely substandard experience.
And this is exactly where the fans draw the line. Fans of this medium are deeply invested in the lore, the characters, and the specific cultural flavor of the work.
Because knowledge and art is valuable when it's fully understood.
Yes. If a human translator spends 3 hours figuring out how to localize a deeply specific Japanese pun so that it actually lands as a joke in English, the fans notice, and they appreciate that effort.
But if an AI just translates the pun literally, making it a complete nonsensical sentence in English, the fans feel insulted. The track record is clear. Fans have loudly rejected the faster and cheaper model.
They fear that skilled human localizers, the ones who make these stories emotionally resonant English, will just be replaced by cost-cutting algorithms.
Which highlights the massive irony of MediaEye's $71 million gamble. The government assumes consumers will choose the official platform over the pirate platform because the official one is faster and legal.
Right.
But if the official platform is pumping out sterile, error-ridden, emotionally flat AI translation, and the pirate scanlation groups are still using dedicated human beings who actually care about the nuances of the characters, well, where do you think the fans are going to go?
They will run directly back to the pirates.
Exactly.
The government is basically handing $71 million to corporations to build a product that is objectively worse than the free illegal version. They are going to supercharge the exact black market they are trying to destroy because they don't understand what their own customers value.
Is a profound miscalculation of consumer priorities. You cannot industrialize art without losing the soul of it.
No, you really...
And the fans are making it very clear. They would rather wait an extra 24 hours for a human being to translate a manga chapter correctly than read a machine-translated version instantly.
Okay, but let me push back on this a little bit. We are painting a very bleak picture of AI here, focusing heavily on how it ruins the flagship, highly anticipated anime releases.
Yeah.
But the initiative is for anime and manga. And looking at the sheer logistics of the manga publishing industry, doesn't AI actually solve a very real, very physical problem?
That is a very fair point. You're touching on the caveat that makes this entire debate so complex.
Because it's not all black and white.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
If we pivot from the screen to the page, the reality of manga is vastly different from anime. We can't dismiss the $71 million plan entirely without looking at this other half of the equation.
Right, because anime solved its speed problem. Manga is drowning in a massive, mathematically impossible backlog.
Exactly. There are tens of thousands of manga series, literally decades of cultural history, that have never been officially translated into English and likely never will be under the current human-only model.
It is just...
The logistics of translating manga are brutal compared to anime. An anime episode is a script with roughly 20 minutes of dialogue, right?
Yeah.
A human translator can sit at a keyboard, watch the video, and just type out the subtitles.
Yeah.
But a manga is a visual spatial puzzle. You have hundreds of chapters, thousands of individual pages.
Let's walk through why it's so physically difficult, because it's not just reading the text and typing it out on a Word document.
Not at all. It is a highly labor-intensive graphical process.
Mm-hmm.
First, the Japanese text is vertically aligned, reading right to left.
Okay.
The human translator has to pull the text, translate it, and then a letterer has to figure out how to fit horizontal English text into vertical bubbles designed for Japanese characters.
Which takes a lot of formatting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have the sound effects. Japanese manga is famous for having massive, stylized sound effects drawn directly into the background art, like doom, crash, whoosh.
Right, it's part of the actual drawing.
Exactly. A human has to digitally erase the Japanese characters, manually redraw the bricks or the explosion or whatever was behind where the text used to be, and then draw in the English sound effect.
Wow. Doing that for one page takes time. Doing that for a 50-volume series from the 1980s that only has a niche cult following.
A publisher like Kodansha or Shueisha is never going to authorize the budget for that. The return on investment is fundamentally negative.
Which means those stories remain locked behind a language barrier forever. They are culturally inaccessible to the rest of the world.
Yes, and this is exactly where artificial intelligence, specifically platforms designed for visual media, presents a genuinely revolutionary tool.
And the major players are already investing heavily here, right?
Very heavily. Publishers are already investing in AI translation platforms designed for this exact volume. Companies are utilizing specialized platforms like Orange and Mantra.
Now, these aren't just ChatGPT spitting out text, are they? How do these specific systems work?
They are multimodal systems built specifically for the comic medium. First, they use advanced optical character recognition, or OCR, to scan the manga page and pull the Japanese text.
Even when it's hand-drawn or weirdly formatted?
Yes, even when it's obscured by art or written in strange, stylized fonts. Then, the AI uses image generation technology, similar to what you see in Midjourney or DALL-E, to instantly paint over the Japanese text and intelligently fill in the missing background art.
That's incredible.
And finally, it translates the text and dynamically resizes the English font to fit the bubbles perfectly.
So a process that would take a human scanlation team hours to clean, translate, and typeset, the AI does in, what, seconds?
Literally 3 seconds.
Wow. And suddenly, that 50-volume series from the 1980s becomes financially viable to translate.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, AI isn't inherently evil here.
Right.
When it's used as a tool to assist human experts in tackling an impossible backlog, it expands cultural access. It's the difference between replacing a master chef and buying them a better food process.
That is a perfect analogy. You aren't asking the food processor to invent the rest soup. You're just using it to chop 10,000 onions in 5 minutes, so the chef cooking.
Exactly.
But what about the quality? We just spent 10 minutes talking about how AI destroys the nuance of the Japanese language. Won't these massive backlogs just be filled with terrible robotic translations?
Well, that is where the hybrid model comes in.
Yeah.
The most responsible publishers are not using AI to replace the human. They're using it as a force multiplier.
Okay, so the AI does the grunt work, the OCR, the background redrawing, the initial rough translation, and then a human editor steps in.
Yes, human fixes the broken honorifics, punches up the jokes, and ensures the emotional tone is correct.
So if the money helps human experts work faster to uncover these hidden gems, it's a massive win.
A huge win. It democratizes the medium, allowing global fans to read thousands of titles that would otherwise be lost to time. In that specific context, a slightly clunky AI translation that is smoothed over by a human editor is infinitely better than no translation at all.
But if it's used to cut corners on flagship, beloved titles, it will just drive fans back to the very fan-made pirate translations the government is trying to eradicate.
The technology is entirely neutral. It is the corporate mandate behind the technology that will dictate the outcome. And right now, the fans just do not trust the corporations to choose cultural preservation over profit margin.
And honestly, looking at how aggressive that 300 million subscriber goal is, it is really hard to blame the fan.
It really is.
You don't triple your global reach in a decade by being careful and artisanal. Do it by industrializing.
Exactly. Let's summarize the landscape we've mapped out today, because it's a lot.
Yeah, let's bring it all together. So we've gone on a journey here. We have a well-intentioned $71 million government push to save $35 billion in piracy losses. But this push stumbles because it completely misdiagnoses the anime problem while simultaneously threatening the quality fans actually care about. Yet, it also holds this glimmer of hope for manga's untranslated history.
It's a massive paradox. By forcing AI onto an anime system that doesn't need it, they're threatening to strip away the nuanced human-crafted quality. They're risking the soul of the story to save a fraction of the overhead.
But we can't ignore the manga backlog.
No, for the thousands of untranslated books sitting in archives, AI presents really the only mathematically viable way to bring those stories to a global audience. The tension lies entirely in how these 15 mega corporations decide to deploy the tools they are being handed.
And this all matters to you listening to this deep dive right now, because the outcome of this $71 million gamble is going to establish the new baseline for how international media is handled.
It will set the precedent.
Speed was never the thing you loved about your favorite show or book. Quality was. Emotional resonance was. And this matters because it dictates the quality of the international media you will consume for the next decade.
Which brings us to a final, rather unsettling thought to carry with you.
Oh boy, okay. What?
Well, if this initiative succeeds on the government's term, if AI tools become the undisputed, inescapable standard for clearing that massive manga backlog and handling global localization to hit that 300 million subscriber mark, what happens to our global cultural exchange? Think about it. If the empathetic, nuanced, artistic interpretation of a human translator is entirely replaced by the literal, potentially homogenized outputs of a machine's algorithmic biases.
Oh, wow. Because AI algorithms naturally have biases based on their training data.
Exactly. They sand down cultural friction to make things easily digestible. So if a machine becomes the sole arbiter of how Japanese culture is translated to the West, will the very soul of the culture we are trying to consume be quietly, algorithmically rewritten before it ever reaches our screen?
That is a chilling prospect. A $35 billion crisis, a $71 million mandate, and the artistic integrity of an entire medium hanging in the balance. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stay insanely curious, read deeply,